This is Mick Foley.
Former WWE superstar Horns over here.
This is Dave LaGreca from Bustin' Open.
I am WWF's longest reigning light heavyweight champion, Gilbert, and you are now
somewhere in the ring.
Somewhere in the ring.
Somewhere in the ring.
Somewhere in the ring. Have a nice day.
We like to. I joke that my kids contain multitudes because they're doing ballet, they're doing some t-ball, and in that same vein, they have started getting into wrestling. So last week at ballet, one of them said to one of their teachers, he gave him the old John Cena "you can't see me" motion, and I was a proud dad because he nailed his pirouettes too. So it's like we got an even mix.
That's all you can ask for these days.
Exactly. Are you at work right now?
Yeah, I am. I'm in we have phone booths.
You're the best. Thank you. You didn't have to this is
no, I'm literally I hadn't figured out a way to connect my normal calendar with my work calendar, and so I use my work laptop. So every time I've messed this up, I've been like, why isn't it telling me?
You did not mess this up. You are a very busy person. I'll dive in. This is Somewhere in the Ring, a podcast where we talk about wrestling. I am Andrew Sanford, one of your hosts, and I am joined by a very special guest, culture writer at Rolling Stone, and whose work has been all over the internets, as they would say, CT Jones. CT,
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me. I know nothing about this. I'm super excited. Teach me your ways. That's the best part.
Yay! That's the best part. Before we get into the wrestling of it all, and I want to ask about your work, but I have a very specific thing too. I'm going to steer the conversation towards. We'll just lay my cards right out on the table. But first and foremost, what made you start getting into covering culture kind of writing and just the grind of I'm going to pitch to CBS. I'm going to pitch to these people. I'm going to what was that grind like? Because I feel like you're doing great.
That's very sweet. I think I kind of got bored. I was working on video production at Newsweek magazine, and all of a sudden I was like, you know what's really bugging me? We would interview all of these actors for shows, and I was like, I wish I could put a disclaimer that was like, I hated this movie. You know what I mean? I wish I could do that.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden I was like, wait, that's just writing. And then you add the interview, and before you say the interview, you're like, and also I hated this film. That was literally all of it was at the beginning. I was like, I really have strong opinions about these things. Let me figure out a way to write them down. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, people are getting paid for having these strong opinions. Maybe I could be one of them. So yeah, I just started pitching like crazy. And also, to be fair, it helped that my rent at the time was $500. So I wasn't really asking.
Yes, sure. I did. What kind of apartment? Because I think I moved to the city in 2007, graduated from the theater school that I went to in about a year and a half, and was in a railroad apartment where I was in what was supposed to be an office for $300 a month. Not to flex, it's whatever.
I would have loved that. No, it was good. It was, we moved to Brownsville. Now it's nice. It wasn't nice when we moved there.
Sure.
And we lived in a 4-bedroom that had clearly been made into 3 apartments from one previous home. All I could fit was I fit a queen size bed with no frame. And my bedroom was so small that I couldn't close the closets so I had to open the closet to fit the bed inside. And then I didn't have room for anything else.
Oh my goodness. I also had a bed with no frame.
Yeah.
And it was, so the way ours worked was to make matters even worse, there was a heating pipe in my room.
Oh, good.
Yep. Always love that. And there were rooms on each side of my room. And one woman, understandably, just put stuff a dresser in front of the door on her side. So I was never getting out of that one. And the other one, who I had a crush on at the time, and who I could often hear sleeping with her boyfriend, who is still a good friend. Early apartments, love that. Would have there were windows because there was also a center. So anyway, if they decided to close their windows, it would be like a heat trap inside of my room.
Oh, great. I love it. There's something so great about the fact that early apartments and apartments that the fire department will warn people about. It's a circle. is what I'm describing. Anytime I like got a new apartment, I'd be like, looks like it'd be hard to get out of in case of an emergency. Is the rent cheap? And they're like, you know it.
It's true, and I feel like too, it is. It's the like stereotypical to say that if you make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
However, if you're willing to put up with that stuff,
They're being very literal when they're like, if you can make it here, because they're saying, do you survive getting out of your apartment in the event of an emergency? Our other ones, it's just like every apartment except the one we have now. I mean, even now, the one we have is like, it's very New Yorky. Yeah, but the early ones, that was really when you proved to the city that you wanted to be here.
It's amazing. Yep. Yeah. And now I love that Eric Adams, in his breath of wisdom that he is always pushing, and his cool t-shirts and all the swag and such, is now like, why do we have all these empty office buildings when they could be apartments with no windows? Like, just the most insane.
I hate that man. Why is he always at the club? Get him out of the club. Do
He's
your
got
job.
nothing else to do. Yeah, no, his job is printing t-shirts now. That's all it is. It's insane. And trying not to be primary. Which, oh boy, yeah. So let's talk about good people and people who are doing cool things. And I'm going to, I don't think it's an embarrassing thing. You were on Forbes 30 under 30.
Oh, thank you, friend. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's
Thank
amazing.
You. Very nice. That's very sweet.
Of course. What is it like finding out about something like that? Like, even just, was there a surrealism to it at all? Was it one of those things where you're like, oh, okay. And I've always known you to be a very humble person too. So I'm sure it wasn't like.
Let's see. Well, you could tell that I was busy because I didn't know. I don't know. It's kind of like one of those things that happens and you don't really want to tell anybody because you're like, I think this is fake. And also like, it doesn't matter. And also it's just weird to ever be even considered. And I had gotten, it was just like a really crazy month. Like Addie had proposed to me. My fiance proposed like 2 weeks earlier. So I was still like, I was still engagement brain. And so I got the email that said I was on the list, but I wasn't reading it very well because it was like 6 a.m. And I had an interview at the office and I had another thing I had to do and I had a paper due and I was just like going. And so I guess I didn't read all the way to the email where they were like, the list is now live. I thought they were like, it'll come out in 2 weeks. So I got out of, literally, I was in a phone booth just like this one, and I got out and my coworkers were clapping. And I was like, you guys already saw the ring last, why are you? Like, I was like this. I was like, I can show it again. Is it a different angle now? And they were like, no, the list. And I was like, what list? Do I owe you something? I was like, what? And then they had to tell me, and I was like, oh, that's probably what the email this morning was about. Okay. That makes more sense now. Good to know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I should really read better. That's the moral of the story. To be a Forbes 30 under 30, you have to be able to read your emails all the way through.
And like, what does it come with? Like, do you get to meet John Forbes, I assume is his name?
No,
I don't
actually,
know where that.
I don't really think you get anything. Like, I think there was a party, but I think I had the flu or something. Like, they sent me a link and they were like, congrats. And now sometimes people like DM me messages on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay, so never mind. So it's not beneficial.
I think you just get to like say it.
Cool. All right, that's cool.
Sick. I know, it's fun. It's like,
yeah.
I think that in 4 years, I will absolutely crush at Two Truths and a Lie. I'm going to wreck someone at a bar quiz like you would not believe it. But until then, I think I'm chilling.
That's awesome. You are getting to do something right now that is like both rare and super awesome, which is your work is being printed. Like, and it feels weird to like, how does that feel, especially at a time, which is where I would like to steer this conversation with that I was, because I read one of your most recent pieces, when we're seeing all this nonsense AI out and about, doing all these terrible things. So what was it? Do you remember a feeling like when you first grabbed a Rolling Stone and saw like, there's my name, there's my article? Was that anything like?
So what's funny is I had been printed before because when I worked at Newsweek, they were still doing the physical magazine. So I'd seen my name before.
Amazing.
See an article, I was like, this feels fake. You ever like wait for the cameras? You're like, okay, this has been like a 3-year punked scenario. Crazy that you guys committed this hard, but like now's the time. Bring the cameras out.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it's weird, and it still kind of throws me. I think something that's been really interesting about writing on the internet for so long is like there are sites that I wrote for that like don't exist anymore. And like
Sure.
everyone always says that the internet is forever, but there are so many old articles of mine that you can't find anymore. They're just like they're gone.
Right. Right.
But it's really nice to kind of, I don't know, now we have this like huge stack of Rolling Stones at home. And if you ask my fiance, we probably have too many. If you hear back from me in a week, I'll be like, we got rid of half the Rolling Stones. It was too much. Addie said they were a fire hazard. It's pretty nice. It feels very tangible in a very nice way.
Yeah.
To be like, this is something that I'm going to be able to look back on.
That's awesome. And
Yeah, it's nice.
when did you first start getting involved in Rolling Stone, and how was that? Like, was that a process where you had to pitch to them a couple times? Did you start like as like a, because you're a staff writer now?
I am.
Right?
I am
Like,
a staff
yeah.
writer.
So like, did you start just doing freelance for them, or was it immediately they were?
Oh
like,
no,
okay.
I cold applied to a job, like a request that I saw on Twitter, and I actually still remember where I was. Our mutual friend Jennifer Sandella was
Ayo.
managing a bar, and sometimes she let me come type while she was on shift.
Aw.
And so I would go and I would like apply for jobs. And I remember like Jen was there and I was like, I'm going to apply for this like random job. I won't even get it. And then like a week and a half later, I got an interview. So it was like, it was very, very quick. And it was something that I don't think happens anymore, which I like. I don't know.
Yeah.
Little job board thing, the greenhouse. I was like, here's my first name. Here's my last name. Please hire me. I'm poor.
And then, so you don't have to like go on tour with a mid-70s era rock band to get established like that. I always assumed that was what you always had to do to get it.
Yeah, I've actually been trying to relive Almost Famous every day, and turns out the minute I stopped, they were like, now you can have a job. They were like, the fur coat was freaking us out, so we just
That being said, you do still get to talk to Billy Crudup pretty regularly. So
I would say Billy Crudup and I have a pretty strong relationship now.
AI. Look, it is one of those. I had to, because I write for the website called pajiba.com Mondays through Fridays, and I remember I have a good friend and friend of the show, David Lawson, who does one-man shows, and he was doing a one-person show about I think it was just about Gen AI, and I got mentioned in the show because he at one point had texted me something he was sending to ChatGPT and like the answers he was getting. And I said, David, these people are trying to put me out of work. Don't praise the machine. Don't feed it. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Have you had to scold anybody like that?
I am an avid ChatGPT scolder. Like anytime someone's like, oh, I asked ChatGPT, I was like, so did you say goodbye to the tree before you burned it? Or like, you're just saying no to the environment? Or like, are you pouring out this water in front of people who are thirsty? Or are you doing it like when they don't see you? Like, what's going on here? And I think I don't love AI, and I don't understand its use in any really meaningful way. But like the really sticking point for me is like it's not good and it's wrong. Like why are we wasting water and natural resources to get the wrong answer?
And then now we're even seeing, I wish I could remember the name off the top of my head, but Musk's awful, like whatever AI stuff he's doing is literally poisoning people.
It's so bad.
Where he put his factory. It's awful.
Yeah, it's not good.
Like, yeah, and it's so like all people's stupid profile pictures, and we'll have people put stuff in our Facebook group all the time, and I'm like, guys, please just don't.
There's so many more interesting and more fun ways. Like anytime you're like, well, I need ChatGPT for this, I'm like, that sounds like a skill issue. I'm sorry. Like let's be a little bit more creative. Like, are you allergic to joy? Are you allergic to excitement, to knowledge? That sounds not cool. Doesn't sound very techy of you.
Like, it's just people just don't want to try. They don't want to work. They don't want to they want all the congratulations and none of the blame. Like it's this weird. I remember hearing a long time ago the old adage of like most writers hate writing but love having written.
Yeah.
And, like of course there's an aspect of that. Everybody's been in places where you're like, I just can't get this paragraph finished.
Oh boy.
But then when it's finished, it's the greatest feeling.
You
have to then quickly move on to the next part, but still.
Yeah, literally.
There's like, I don't respect it. I have no acknowledgement for it. I'm not going to sit down and watch somebody's poorly made AI nonsense, but
oh my gosh. Have you seen those videos where they're like AI is going to put all of the like movie things out of business, and then you watch the video and you're like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah. And I love that they think that too, as if movies in general didn't spend, still to this time, we have family members, people we know who you're like, that's not real. I can see this. I know how they did this. Like human beings naturally hate suspending their disbelief whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And if you're just going to throw some computer generated nonsense at them, it's not going to work.
Yeah, everyone's always surprised. They're like, you don't like AI? I'm like, no, I am in fact not in the interest of making sure I don't have a job in 4 years.
Yes.
Shocking. Sorry. It's not my fault. I like being employed gainfully. Sue me.
Yep. Yeah. And I would much rather, I'm a big fan of I will say bad movies, right? Like movies, especially ones where I'm just going to, since I'm sitting here and I know exactly where it is. Have you ever seen the Apple CT?
No, I've never seen it.
Look, do yourself a favor. It was
okay, I'm writing it down. It's in my head.
It's about 1994 by way of 1980. By Canon Films, who are these a movie company that made stars out of like Jean-Claude Van Damme and Chuck Norris and cocaine.
Van Damme.
Yep. But it's a musical that is about like a folk singing duo who get wrapped up in the music industry and make a deal with the devil. It's ridiculous and it's so fun and it's very bad, but everybody's really trying. Yeah. You know what? The dancers, the song, they're trying. It's not good, but they're trying as hard as they can. And I would much rather watch something that people put their blood, sweat, and tears in than something that's like somebody wrote I don't know, Chadwick Boseman's back and he's going to be Black Panther again and he's going to pass it on to Henry Cavill and I want to see that happen. That's the kind of lazy nonsense that gets put out there. And I'd much rather see somebody's poorly drawn picture of Chadwick Boseman shaking hands with Henry Cavill.
Absolutely.
Something, the human side.
I think trying is everything.
Exactly. So, what is your relationship with professional wrestling, if any?
I know that it exists, right? Okay. Did I go on Wikipedia when I saw your Instagram DM asking me to do this? Absolutely, I did. I know that sometimes people's costumes are pretty. I think they push each other. And people clap. I've done it. That's what I know. That's my knowledge set.
And there's nobody out here that can do anything.
Hello, welcome to our Patreon page. I'm Andrew Sanford, and this is, depending on which way the video is, Ryan Sprague.
Stage left, ring left, ring right.
Ring right, yeah, ring corner ring right. That's what we're saying. It's in the lexicon now. So, if you're here, it's probably because you've been listening to Somewhere in the Ring, and we thank you oh so much for that. But you want more. You want more Ryan. You want more Andrew. You want more mini episodes. You want some commentaries. You want to get your name on a box. Well, that's what's going to happen here.
You're going to get shout outs on the show. You can get your name on Andrew's official microphone podium. You can choose our topics. and matches that we discuss, and you also get priority to ask our guests your listener questions. So you'll see the tiers right here on Patreon. Check them out. See which one you want to join. You can always go up. You can always go down.
And we're going to keep adding and changing as the show goes on. I love playing wrestling video games. You want to play a wrestling video game with me? We're going to add that into the tiers at some point. You want to hear Ryan and I talking while you watch the Scott Conn, David Arquette, Oliver Platt vehicle Ready to Rumble, which I'm going to keep bringing up because it's going to happen at some point. You can do that here. We're going to make this Patreon full and fun, and we're going to keep building this community that we've already started that we love so much.
We hope that you will join us even more somewhere in the ring.
I sent a match to you ahead of time.
Yes.
Did you get a chance to check it out?
And then I have notes because I think I pronounced one of the girls' names wrong.
Which one? I bet I can guess.
Is it Asuka or?
It's Asuka, and I spent easily like 3 years pronouncing it wrong. So don't get
Asuka, because I saw Asuka's intro and I was like, seems like they're not saying the name that I've been saying in my head. I thought the masks were super sick, and I was like, can we roll back the name maybe one more time?
She was huge over in Japan. She's huge here now. Like, I wanted to, because I go one of two ways when I try to introduce people, especially on this podcast, to professional wrestling, which is I'll either send them a match that's just absurd, or in a match that's really good. Like we've one of the first times I had somebody come on who hadn't really watched wrestling before, we had to watch a ladder match, which is where like the winner has to climb to the top of the ladder and retrieve something. Usually it's a title belt. This time it was paperwork that would determine the custody of a child. Yes. Within story. And fun side note, that child, who at the time was not sure whether or not he was really going to go home with somebody else, is now one of the best professional wrestlers working in the company.
You know, that's full circle. I love a completed story.
What was your first impression seeing? So I had you watch, it was Asuka versus Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. Yes. Again, 3 incredible wrestlers. Seemingly
powerhouses. I wanted to know the story that I was missing out on because people seemed very involved. I need to know how long they practice, and I need to know what setting spray they use for the makeup, because I thought Asuka's look was very intense, and I wanted to know how it stayed that way.
That's fair. I honestly, so the practicing, it depends match to match. Now, and also, to be fair, this was at a time when Vince McMahon, one of the worst people to ever walk the earth, was still very much involved with the company. And that's not even an exaggeration. The man is terrible. And he has since been forced out of the company, not because of multiple lawsuits that were brought against him, but because those lawsuits were brought against him. And then right before a big event, Slim Jim threatened to pull their endorsement. And he was out like overnight. Yes.
How much money was Slim Jim putting in?
That's an excellent question.
I didn't know Slim Jim made that much.
I feel like they must have seen it as like, if these guys are going to do this, everybody's going to start doing it. Like the Slim Jim was the pebble that started a landslide.
Oh no.
Yes. But Vince McMahon, notoriously, they would have things scripted weeks in advance, sometimes days in advance. Wrestling kind of like ebbs and flows. It will sometimes move with like audience reactions and things like that. This man would show up sometimes and rip up a script 2 hours before the show is supposed to go up. Like regularly.
Literally, that sounds like a nightmare.
Yes. So they would not only have to like replot matches, they'd have to write storylines on the fly. Wrestlers are learning lines on the fly. Wrestlers who, I give them a lot of credit, a lot of them have to learn stuff a couple days before, and then they have to be on TV talking for like 20 minutes sometimes.
Ugh.
And most of them are only okay at it. And then you have your stars that are like really, really good. And then you have some people who are like, please stop giving that person a microphone. But that's part of the job.
Okay.
So yes. But then others, now he has since been, Vince has been replaced by his son-in-law, who now runs the company and is much more into like long-term storytelling and keeping things scripted and plotting matches out in advance. Sometimes for big events like this, they'll practice matches for weeks, sometimes days, and then sometimes they'll show up at 1 p.m. before an 8 o'clock call and be like, all right, we're going to run through this and you're going to do that and we're going to do this. And maybe they'll practice a couple like the big spots, like, or the moments. But it's a lot of improv. A lot of it is improv based.
I don't know how you do that with your body. Like I was like, okay, so I looked this up also because I was like, okay, Wikipedia doesn't have all the answers for me. I need to go to Reddit, the place where all knowledge lies. And then they were like, what if there was punching in soap operas? And I was like, now I understand. Like I am here and my body is ready to receive whatever I see. Yeah, but I really only had more questions. Excitement. I was definitely excited. I do not how much do you know that it's scripted? Like I get that people know that it's scripted, but like do you know who's winning, or are you just really hoping that you see where the storyline is going?
It's a mix of both. There are some things where you can be like, oh, like they had a big event, like WrestleMania just happened, right? And there was a match set up between this large German gentleman named Gunther and a guy named Jey Uso, who is The Rock's cousin. And you can tell by that smile. But he
Jey Uso.
He's good. Look, I love the Usos. They're also, he has a twin brother named Jimmy. Those are their like ring names. And my twins love them. And that's like a real play. Like you can't be what you can't see. They see twins wrestling, so they're very excited. But he had won the Royal Rumble, which is like a big event that earns you in storyline, like a title match. And they had been setting up for months that he was going to wrestle Gunther for the title at WrestleMania. And it was one of those things where like the buildup was as such, the storyline was going as such that you're like, it's almost like any movie or things like that. They might throw a swerve at you or two, but storytelling will dictate if you want a satisfying conclusion for this. Jey Uso should win, and that's what happened.
Okay,
you know what I mean? And they were smart enough to like. Everybody kind of saw that as a foregone conclusion. So this was a 2-night event, and even though it was a huge match, like the audiences, Jay does this thing where he yeets. He goes like yeet and goes like that, and the entire stadium of 70,000 people will all be going like this. Not in unison. A lot of them don't have any rhythm, but there is like an attempt to do it at the same time.
Yeah, the attempt is what matters, really.
Exactly. And so they had him come out and win the first match of the weekend. So it the crowd went nuts. It kicked, and the energy was high for the rest of the night leading into the next day.
Okay.
And there are other times where they will like go out of their way. They had a big, this guy, Cody Rhodes, who has one of the most garish tattoos ever on his neck, which is like this skeleton king that looks like an American flag. And he's like bleach blonde, but he is a good guy in all this. I know that's the correct response. He had returned to the company after leaving and starting his own company. Had this whole thing where he's like, I want to finish my story and win the world heavyweight title for the first time. My family's never done it. It's going to happen. He wins the Rumble, gets the main event at WrestleMania, and lost. And it was like,
oh no,
the biggest, yes. And it was one of those fun things that wrestling everybody was so sure and certain they were building it up in such a way. And then he lost. And it was like this cool rug pull. So it kind of depends. And sometimes they don't know who's going to win until right before the match or like the day of.
Okay.
Or sometimes in the middle of the match, the referee will have an earpiece on and they might be like, oh, we're actually going to switch up the finish. And now this is going to happen.
The refs are in on it.
Yes.
Wait, how do I get that job? What do you mean? This is perfect.
Yeah. I've always wanted to be like, I want to put on a suit and be the guy on the side of the ring that's like screaming and be like, no, come on.
Yeah, I feel like there's something so visceral about like banging on the sides of I don't know. I feel like that would be fun. I think I like that. This podcast has the exclusive CT Jones doing a career shift to the person holding the sign.
Oh, I can't wait. So yeah, so it's a lot of it. There's a great. Have you ever seen The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke?
Not even a bit.
That's fair. It is one of the best kind of like behind the scenes looks at like how a lot of this stuff works. Like they're like one of my favorite moments. And this is like a smaller scale show, but it's somebody at like a show that he's literally doing in like a high school. And it's these guys backstage. It's like, all right, Bam Bam's going to go against the John, and Quick Liz is going to go against, Slimer. And like, well, and then it's just cutting all these big guys that are talking to each other. Like, yeah. So like, then I'll come up and like, bam, and you do this. And like, we'll hit and like, oh yeah, then I'll drop. Like, it's really fun. And it's something that I have, especially recently, argued that they should have embraced a long time ago. Because something, have you ever heard the term kayfabe?
No, but I'm listening.
It's an old carnival term, which is basically pretending that what happens in the show really happened or is really happening.
Oh, okay.
And back in the day, professional wrestling used to be broken up into a lot more like smaller territories. Before Vince McMahon literally like bought them all, like formed a monopoly and bought them all up and threw a lot of them out of business and stuff.
That dirty capitalist.
The worst, just awful. With his terrible little jet black mustache that he has now. They would wrestle in these territories and they would be like local heroes, but if somebody were to like break their arm in a story, they would walk around town with a cast, like a fake one. They would lean into it in their personal lives, be like, no, that really happened. And somewhere around, I would say like the 80s or 90s, people were like, no, but we know this isn't real. And instead of being like, yeah, you guys are right, but we put a lot of work into it, they were like, no, shut up. This is real. You don't know what you're talking about. I will slap you I will assault you to show you that it's real, even though I'm not really assaulting the people I'm actually wrestling. And within the last like 10 or 12 years, that has shifted entirely. And those kayfabe walls have come down. And the popularity of wrestling has gone up because I think people don't think they're being lied to anymore. And people can also see like it takes a lot of work. And these shows like involve a lot of setup and time. And I think there's even a documentary coming out this summer on Netflix that is going to show the writer's room leading up to wrestling. You right?
Okay, yeah, I would love to know how, like, wow, how do you even go about that?
So it's the planning aspect of it is like thorough with improv in there, but it's something that they've just kind of like shied away from embracing in just a very strange way.
Ooh, I want to see it. I want to see the strings.
Yes.
Who's pulling who?
Exactly. And I think that's like, to tie it back, that's one of the many reasons that AI is so insulting is, like, no, all you did was type a sentence into a box.
That's stupid. If I read a book, I want to know that the author had at least 2 breakdowns over it. Okay. I want to know that after chapter 7, they were like, what am I doing with my life? Right. Which chapter did they have to go to the bar after? You know what I mean? Like, which one made them rethink their career? That's a book.
Yes, absolutely. Like, and the struggle is part of it, and it's relatable. Like, even if people don't put on professional wrestling matches, everybody's had something that they've tried and has been too hard and they stopped doing it, or something they take pride in because they worked really hard to do it. It's strange. One thing I wanted to tell you that I don't think happened in the match. Bianca Belair with her long braid, which I just absolutely. Oh my God. And incredible. She was a bodybuilder. And then this wrestler named Mark Henry, who was also a former bodybuilder, saw her and was just like, do you want to wrestle? And she was like, I guess. And then went and tried out. And she is one of the best in the business. They call the nickname they call her the EST,
Yes, I did hear that.
Yes. So it's all supposed to be like, she's like, I'm the fastest, I'm the smartest, I am the EST. Like the,
Wow, wait, that's very chic. I like
isn't
that.
that cool? Yeah. And when I tell you, CT, she has whipped people with that hair in the middle of the ring. And it is.
I would go home. I don't care if it's stupid. If I got whipped with a braid, I'd be like, it's been a good night. Thanks, folks.
Yep.
I can go now.
And like Hart, because there's some things, and I think that would always be the pushback from wrestlers. They're like, "Do you see this blood on me? Like that's not fake. Like it's the semantics, like nonsense kind of stuff." But that's like one of those things that still makes it kind of thrilling is when she hits somebody with her hair, she's not hitting them.
Yeah.
There was like an instance from a pay-per-view a few months ago where she whipped this woman named Liv Morgan, who is currently on break because she's filming a new Bad Lieutenant movie, which is just one of my favorite, like weird little, like pro wrestlers are crazy and they do all kinds of other weird stuff. But she whipped this woman across the midsection. You could hear it through the arena. And then afterwards, Liv Morgan showed just this like gash on her side from it. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'd go home. I stand by it. If I got whipped by a braid, I'd be like, "Yeah, it's been real, guys."
So with Bianca Belair, there is a moment that I know happened in the match, which is kind of her thing, which is where like she's punching somebody in the corner, somebody runs up behind her, and she does a backflip over them.
Yes.
And then keeps going. As someone who had not watched a wrestling match before, when you saw something like that happen, did that like pique your interest a little bit more or make you go like, how did they not?
Interested. And I'm also like someone who is constantly like, is physics real? You know what I mean? You ever see something and you're like, I'm not sure how you know your body could do that. I kind of get how the witch trial started because sometimes I watch something like that. I'm like, there's something off there.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be possible. She got a lot of air with that one.
It's crazy.
How do you do that?
Ropes, and it, like I've heard that the WWE ropes like have a little bit more give. Like I remember it doesn't.
That could be a slinky, and I'm still like, how the girl do it?
And I'll send it to. There was a moment at the most recent WrestleMania where she was. I think that was when it was, but she was in a match not too long ago where a big spot in the match was like 5 different women getting piled up in the corner. So she just kept doing backflips over each one and backflipping and beating them up. And it was one of those things where the classic, like you do something like once or twice, people might be into it. You do it like 3 or 4 times. You have to do it like 5, 6 or 7 times. So she just kept going. And every time the crowd like popped a little bit and got more excited. But it is something too that I like to point to because I just think that like I'm like these people are athletes. This match is only like
for sure.
Yeah, like the match is only like 20 minutes long, and it's still just like they have to be exhausted. Afterwards.
I clicked on the link and I was like 2 minutes in. I was like, I'm tired. I was like, there's a lot of moving, and they have to do this how long? And they're all still. Can you imagine? Anytime I look at a Stairmaster, I get tired. And you're telling me these chicks are out here whipping people with their braids? 20 minutes? What? Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah, no thanks. And was there a moment where you were like, well, that had to have actually hurt? Like there's no way that.
Let me see. I thought I did a little. I don't want like the volume to go on because I have the link somewhere. Wait. Okay. Let's see. What was the one where I was like, this looks like hurt. Oh no, that's the commercial. Which one hurt? Okay, wait, I'm gonna mute myself for a second.
They love to do that. It also annoys me that they didn't have the entrances on there, and presumably just so they don't have to pay whoever writes the theme songs, even though they like that person works for them specifically. It's a whole weird. YouTube's weird. That being said, any of our new fans on YouTube, because we've grown quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Okay, let me see. I'm gonna try to find it.
Do it.
Where was the part that I was like, wish I could like mute this? Let's see.
Oh, it's okay. Ryan can always.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay, the one where Bianca is on the floor. Okay, the flip was the one where I was like, wow. That was a lot. One where, okay, yes, okay, this is the one. Okay, where they're in the corner, like we were talking about, and then Bianca has Becky kind of on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
and they're on the rails, and then
Mm-hmm.
I don't think your neck should be able to do that. I was like, I get that they're actors and they're very good at what they do skill wise,
Mm-hmm.
and like that has to hurt, right? You ever
Yeah.
slept on an airplane weird and been like, ugh, now I'm like messed up for like 3 weeks?
I was reading comic books to my kids on the couch a couple weeks ago, and I hurt my back by sitting there, by sitting down the wrong way. I like to the point where I laid down later that night and I was like, I can't close my eyes because I'm gonna die. Like
Literally.
I've never experienced pain like this before.
And
I'm going to die.
They are bouncing, they are flipping. Again, that's why I was like, the refs are in it too, because it seems like the refs are just like what they should really do. And this is something that I think from a business mind I've really been thinking about a lot lately. I know that the refs like know the calls and everything, but could you imagine if they like sold a ref position to like a really close up personal fan who's like, my dream is to like see Bianca whip someone with that whip in person. Like, congratulations, here's a striped shirt, you get 9 seconds of glory, my friend. You're just gonna stand there, eyes open, just like this. Wow. That's how they make some money. Forget Slim Jims.
I would. We can never forget Slim Jims. I understand what you're saying. We could never forget.
You're right. It is
the
what
conglomerate that helped take down Vince McMahon. If you ever get a chance, they had a documentary that they did about him on Netflix that was happen. And don't look into the lawsuits against him because they're horrific.
Okay, I won't.
They're very bad. They're very, very bad. And a lot of them were like they are using just his text messages as evidence because he's an old man who was just sharing whatever he wanted on his texts. But there is a documentary about him where it's like 6 episodes, and they reveal in the 6th one that they were like, we were supposed to interview him for one more day, and he had never done a sit down like this before. The lawsuits broke. He turned down our interview. We haven't heard from him since, and that basically helped us form the end of the documentary. They have said they're like, we kind of didn't have an ending to this, and then all these lawsuits and all this information about him, they were just like, oh, well, now we can just like, this is it feels like evidence. They have him saying stuff that he was just willfully saying, like he didn't know that he was about to be ruined.
That'll get you. And
yep.
A hot mic, unlike any others. Everyone sits down for an interview. They're like, this is going to be fine. Don't say anything.
Was there a point during the match where you felt like you knew who was going to win?
I liked Asuka's makeup in the beginning, so I felt very strongly about the fact that she was.
That's fair. Yeah. She's rad. I also love the little like kabuki mask stuff.
It's the mask. I think a mask on top of an already like beat face. Sickening. I love.
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
I like
the big fur coats, and she'll have like horns coming out sometimes too. She's just incredible.
Exactly. I think it's fantastic. I only had more, like I said, I only had more questions. Every time I watched, I was like, what's happening? Where are we going with this? This is beautiful. What do their home lives look like? You know what I mean? Like I would watch, and this could be another pitch. I don't know if this is something that I would watch on the regular, but I have watched enough Summer House that I would watch a season of these guys pre the fights. Like, what if they just had to stay in a green room for like an hour and a half, right, before they got ready? Like, that's what I want to know. Like, who fights over the carrots and hummus? Like, what's on Bianca's rider? I need to know.
What is Summer House?
Summer House? Oh my gosh. I can't
lay it on me.
It's so stupid. It's just a reality show. It's so stupid. I watch every reality show.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're sitting down talking on a pro wrestling podcast and you're be like, oh, this stupid reality show? You're good. You're fine. You're okay.
Okay, Summer House.
This belt is falling apart, and I've had it since I was 13. It means nothing. But our guests in my house have to look at it, much to my wife's chagrin.
Oh my gosh. Okay, basically, it's just like these friends who live in New York, and then like during the summer, during the week, they're like, what if, we went to the Hamptons every weekend, but we're too poor to have a Hamptons house. So we like share this house together. It's from the same people who did Vanderpump Rules. And I love it because it like operates on like my ideal, or earlier seasons at least operate on my ideal like reality show, which is like people who get paid, people who work like service jobs who get paid to like fight people. Like I love that. You know what I mean? Like my favorite show besides Summer House is Below Deck, which I don't know if you've ever watched Below Deck.
I haven't watched it. I am aware of it though.
Yes.
That one I at least know.
I love Below Deck. Below Deck is like my god tier. Like I will watch old seasons even though I've already seen it. And like that's what I mean when I'm like, I need to know, like, I love the stress that comes out, not from like rich women who have like basketball husbands who like are mad at like someone didn't go into like the other person's gala. Like I know which of you people making minimum wage think your other coworker is not pulling their weight. You know what I mean? Like who messed up the silverware? Who got the drinks wrong? That's what I want.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think a WWE version of Summer House Below Deck, that's what I would. Living in close quarters with someone, it's horrible. You learn so much about people.
They used to do, we've actually had on this podcast, there was a show called Tough Enough in the early 2000s.
Okay.
That was an MTV reality show.
Yes.
For people who wanted to become pro wrestlers. They would have to stay in a house together. They would have to, and work out. And it was probably not as fun as it could have been.
No, it's fine. After this, that's what we're turning on. Thanks so much. It's been a great call.
I got you.
Unrelated. I gotta go.
Yeah. That, and what's even funnier is, if I remember correctly, the first season of Tough Enough had Mike the Miz Mizanin on there, who was the Miz was a big Real World character, and he was like, he got onto Real World, and his whole thing was like, I love pro wrestling. I call myself the Miz. I'm gonna be a pro wrestler. And then that's just what he did. And now he became like, he main evented WrestleMania. Like he became this huge pro wrestler. And the guy who won the first season wrestled for like 3 or 4 years and then just kind of moved on to other things. He still like does dates. He's actually has a huge YouTube channel now. Maven, friend of the show. But it was it's just kind of a weird how that works. So they have a reality show right now called LFG.
Perfect.
But it's and it's like legends, fighters, and something else. But it's like these WWE legends training like new people who want to be wrestlers, and it's a little too, like, you can tell. One of my least favorite things about reality shows, as someone who has had to be on a reality show before, as a cryptozoologist, I was on a show called Mysteries Decoded as a cryptozoologist. Myself, a cryptozoologist. I am not a cryptozoologist.
Wait, that's literally such a lore drop. Are you joking?
I am not joking. When we get off this call, I am going to text you. I even have like a GIF from it because I got to have a look to camera moment. But I had to go into the Canadian wilderness with this man who believes Bigfoot is real and has run just a real big grift out of pretending. You may have heard, he's somebody who tried to sue like the state of Seattle or sue Washington or something at some point because he wanted federal protections for Bigfoot as a species.
I'm aghast. I'm agog. I need to see this episode.
I'll send it to you.
Oh my gosh.
And I had to go and pretend that I believed him because I had to be the non-skeptic. They asked me to come back at one point, and they were just like, no, we're going to have you talk about werewolves this time. And I was like, I can come back from pretending that I believe in Bigfoot, right? I still, mutual friend Mike Gregoric will never let me live it down. He literally, when my kids were born, him and his lovely wife, Adrian, sent us 2 rattles that are wooden Bigfoot shapes. And we still have them.
Not twin Bigfoot rattles. I'll die.
So all that to say, as someone who has had to be fed lines off camera and still make them sound natural, one of my least favorite things is when somebody is clearly saying something that they were told to say 30 seconds ago. And there's a little bit too much of that in the LFG show. So that was my main point there.
Yeah. I get it.
So
I think maybe to make it better, you should make the people on LFG share a fridge and then fight over who has to clean it, and that's where the real drama happens. Okay.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
I think in fact,
hummus.
we're not going to say any more of this on mic either, because this is our pitch now. This is. Any final thoughts on the match and your first wrestling experience? If you could sum it up in the however you'd like.
Sometimes violence is the answer, and in fact, we should watch more of it.
CT, thank you so much for hanging out with
Thank
me
you for
today.
having me. I love that I was able to come and say once again that I truly know nothing about this. I was just happy to be here.
Yeah, I was so happy to have you here. If people want more of you, where can they look?
You can find me on Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, or Tumblr. I have a bunch of different ones. You just search CT Jones and I should pop up with my gritty.
Heck yeah. As always, please go to patreon.com/somewhereinthering if you would like to support the show. You can find my work at pajiba.com, or if you want to watch a short horror film that I wrote and directed, you can watch that on Vimeo. It's called Pay the Tithe. Or a short film that I only wrote that's much funnier called Chemistry Test is available on YouTube. So I'm out there. Come check us out. CT, the thing that we always love to do to end the show is we ask our guests to please ring the bell to end us. So if whatever that means to you, if you could please ring the bell and send us home.
Ching!
Excellent. Perfect. Yay. Thank you
Why
so
is it
much.
a little butler bell? Why did I do that? Dinner!